sure what.
I'll take what you just said as a compliment.
Yeah, but people listening right now are not going to hear what we're talking about because that's all behind the scenes.
Yeah, Will just said I had a nice ass, which is kind of
tight.
But what is also tight is the fact that we are on lock for BP number 14, Bits and Pieces number 14.
Hot off the presses because we just finished recording episode BP 13.
Time traveled the shit out of that one.
That wouldn't have released several weeks ago. Who knows what this one's going to release? But with these kinds of discussions and topics, we tend to not be too time specific.
What if we flip the script and release this one first, bro?
Ooh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Goddamn, that'll have to do a lot of editing, but that's fine.
No, that's fine. So, Will, it's your turn now. We alternate. What you got for me?
In the previous BP, we were talking about the state of the anime industry in respect to the creators, not just in anime but also in manga, in terms of their health and their well-being. And
I think we also touched on the industry as well as like series themselves, like not living people.
Like the greater landscape and how it is affected by the current health conditions and mental well-being of the creators behind those specific series, and in terms of the industry at wide.
You alluded to that. Oh, this is kind of
there were a lot of things we talked about in the previous BP that actually I wanted to really dig into, but at the same time it's because of the fact that with our BPs, we try and keep it a little bit more concise rather than being 2 hours plus. We want to try and keep it an hour or so, maybe 45 minutes. And so therefore, if we were to
we've not kept
we
45
we have
minutes
had
so long.
we've had some
in the very beginning,
maybe like the first 2 or 3 BPs.
Well,
we've
did
done.
you know that the first 2 or 3 we split into 3 parts, bro?
Yeah, true.
For no reason.
So if we were to elaborate on some of the things we talked about in the previous BP, it would have actually become a full-blown regular episode. So
in the last GAP Bits and Pieces,
and now this week we want to talk about. Well, I want to talk about streaming. In terms of the different services we use and the current state of the services. Because as we've seen and also reported on many times, we've talked about how Netflix has been losing subscribers. They've introduced a new tier list in terms of their subscription base, in that you pay a lower subscription, but you also then have some ads that are being played whilst you're watching Netflix. Crunchyroll has consumed Funimation and has now absorbed their catalog, but it also does mean a lot of things are left in the gray. And then there's also other struggling, smaller stream sites that are still surviving but hang on its last threads.
Will, is this my opportunity to shill the fuck out of High Dive? Are you giving me the opportunity to simp, to dive into my endless well of compliments?
Your high level of compliments for High Dive. Yeah.
It's an endless stream.
Whether you want to shill for them, I'm not going to stop you. But what I wanted to talk about was in terms of subscriptions that we have, right? Like we've got Crunchyroll, we've got Netflix, got Disney Plus. I don't think we have Hulu. We have Amazon Prime Video, and we also have High Dive.
To be clear, on my end, it's only thanks to my younger sister because she has Amazon Prime. So
and my sister has Disney Plus.
Account sharing is.
But she uses my Netflix. So.
Oh wait, is this admissible in court, bro?
No, I mean no. We're all in the family. We all live together. So I mean, how's that an issue? She's paying for one service. I'm paying for one service as a family plan.
And we're blood related, right?
You and I are for sure.
Okay, got it.
If not, then we need to do that ritual. Pour the blood in the tea and see if it splits. If it doesn't,
oh no, we need the contract.
Yeah, blood contract. Yeah. So, in terms of the average consumer of streaming, right? Like SVDO, streaming video online. There are so many choices. Back then,
so many.
I'd say 10 years ago, it really was just Netflix and Hulu, right? And Crunchyroll was in there too, but
only for anime, yeah.
Exactly, right? But now we've gotten to a point where every streaming platform, whether it be Disney Plus, Hulu, Amazon,
Isn't
especially Netflix.
Didn't Paramount also have something?
Something. I mean, there's Peacock, there is HBO Max.
Oh yeah, Peacock being NBC. That's right.
There's so many different streaming platforms. Whether or not they have anime on it, I don't know because I don't use either of those services.
Yeah, I don't either.
But what I wanted to sort of highlight over is that with the with this huge burgeoning of different alternatives to the traditional streaming platform, and we're talking specifically about Netflix and Hulu and Crunchyroll, and now it being very, very watered down to the point where, if you want to watch something, you have to have a subscription to that platform, and if you don't have that platform, then you're gonna have to find other means, and by other means, I mean sailing the high seas.
I don't know what you're talking about, but please continue on, Will, so we can ignore
innocent,
this.
Jason. We all know like where all this anime streaming came from in the first place.
Oh, so
right?
Seven Seas Entertainment. Yeah, they're very fine, upstanding English manga publishing.
Very reputable.
Very reputable.
No irony or sarcasm whatsoever.
I
right?
have no idea what those words mean, Will. Please continue.
So, how many times have you watched an anime series and just felt, oh, awesome, this streaming platform now has it. I want to watch it there. You click it, you open it up, and it's in jail. There's no series. There's no ability for you to access it. And we're not talking about region locking either. We're literally just talking about the subscription platform jail, whether it's Netflix jail, Disney jail, Hulu jail, whatever it may be, because it's definitely something that's rampant across all streaming services.
Wait, so sorry to interrupt. So when you say, for example, Netflix jail, do you mean the staggered release?
That is one part. But
right.
So for example, like right now, everybody is, well, I mean, not right now because we don't know when this will release, but there was a period of time, sometime in the far, far distant past, when people just would not stop talking about Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War, and have watched the shit out of it and skyrocketed up to the top of the charts. As of recording, it is. I don't know if it'll be the same when we release this, but Disney Plus got the rights to Bleach as well, right?
Okay, yeah, okay.
I tried accessing it this morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's not there.
You mean
on Disney Plus?
No VPN, nothing, or what?
Even looking on US Disney Plus, it's not there.
So why does it say they have it?
Because they made an announcement that they got the rights to it, and if you look up "Watch Bleach," it will show, but you can't access it. It might change by the time this recording comes out, but I can tell you as of recording, right, in December, you cannot access Bleach on Disney Plus. It is on Netflix, but that's a whole different kettle of fish.
And that's also Netflix Hong Kong, technically.
Yeah.
Just like how Netflix Japan has a bunch of English subtitles, but it's only available in Japan because of licensing issues. But yes. Sorry, Will.
So when it comes to then talking about wanting to watch stuff online, right, using legitimate and agile paid services, whether it's Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Amazon, whatever it may be, I want to pose the question to you. Do you think that the current streaming wars is actually killing the anime industry?
Now, okay, so as someone who is a stickler for details, I have the need to ask you, when you say the streaming wars is killing the anime industry, do you mean all streaming platforms that stream anime, or do you have a certain, subset of
every streaming platform? Well, most of them actually have blood on their hands in some way, shape, or form. Let's talk about Netflix first of all.
Sure.
Right. So Netflix, as mentioned earlier in this recording, in November they released a new subscription tier list in which you pay a cheaper subscription per month. So instead of it being like $7.99 or $8.99, I think it's like $5 or $6 a month, but it's ad supported. So we're just basically going back to the old cable TV days where you're paying for TV, but you're still bombarded by ads. Now, I know that not everybody is going to be in the that particular tier where they can't afford to have ad-free YouTube, Netflix, or whatever. People might still be using a free Spotify. This is not in any way, shape, or form, poor shaming. what I wanted to actually talk about here was because of the fact that there's now an ad supported tier for Netflix. Shortly after the release of that tier, NHK in Japan came out with a statement to Netflix and said, "We don't support your ad supported platform. You better fix this, or we're going to remove all of our anime from your catalog."
Okay, so I just checked. BusinessInsider.com is reporting that on
November 4th, I think it was.
Yeah, that's the one. There is 4 tiers. There is the $6.99 US dollar basic with ads, $9.99 basic, standard is $15.99, premium is $19.99, and to be a caveat, the $6.99 basic with ads is due to licensing restrictions. Some titles will be inaccessible, which alludes to what you're mentioning right now.
Yeah. Then and actually, like there was like an actual article that came out in the Japan Times 3 weeks after the tier released that NHK are now currently in discussions with Netflix about their ad-supported platform because there are licensing issues in Japan when it comes to because that's like anytime you watch anything on Japanese TV before they even start the episode or start the whatever they're trying to broadcast, there is a slew of broadcasting partners, advertisements, and whatnot.
I
in
forgot
the
what they. I forgot what the
Konoban
woman
wa
says.
blah,
Oh,
blah,
yeah.
And then
Konoban wa. Yeah.
And then there'll be like, oh, it could be this company or that company that is like, like subsidizing or investing into this particular product or this particular series, whatever it may be. But because the ad-supported part from Netflix is in conflict with the rights that exist in Japan, Japanese companies are now fearful of people relating those ads, those different kinds of advertisements to the product itself. And that ties back to what happened in Japan. So, as of now, I think they're still in discussion. They haven't pulled the series yet, but I think there was at least like 22 titles that's on Netflix's catalog that is essentially under NHK.
It's in the firing line.
Yeah. So I think Deno Coil is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Attack on Titan is one of them.
I see.
There's a few other ones too. But one thing that I'm starting to see here is that, like, because of the fact that a lot of these companies are for profit, they're always looking for ways to be able to generate more money, generate more revenue. Understandable. But when those decisions are made, there are a lot of things in the middle that get caught in the crossfire. And when you see like a monolith, which is NHK, and another monolith, which is Netflix, fighting each other because they're trying to say, hey, look, like you can't make money off of this because we're trying to make money off of this. You need a cease and desist, or we're going to pull all of our shit off your catalogs. And then Netflix would be like, oh, but it's because of us that we're giving more visibility to your lesser watched shows, whatever it may be, and therefore like we're all well within our right to be able to continue broadcasting and streaming these series, even if it is behind an ad-supported paywall. But then all the studios in between that produce those shows lose out because all of a sudden, like let's say NHK does end up, losing, end up pulling all their series, right? Or Netflix decides to keep them. Even if we're able to get more subscribers onto Netflix because of a cheaper tier, I very much doubt any of that money goes into the pockets of the anime studios that produce those anime series. And if NHK were to actually, go on their word and pull those series out, those series lose visibility. Because the point of having Netflix is to be able to like open it up a series to more regions so that there's more visibility, there's more people watching their stuff. That's just one small thing about Netflix that's like that recently I've noticed in terms of what it could potentially be doing that's hurting the anime industry. Another thing that you actually talked about very, very briefly in BB13 was the release schedule of anime on Netflix, specifically batch releasing. So historically, in terms of watching old school anime, it used to come out on a weekly basis. Yes, it would still follow like a curve system, so 12, 13 episodes, or maybe a double curve where it would span over the course of half a year. Recently, we've been seeing more and more series, especially ones that get licensed directly and like exclusively on Netflix, that rather than being released on a simulcast basis or on a weekly basis, you just release every single episode in one go. Specifically, what I'm talking about here would be the JoJo series. So seasons 1 through 5, or parts 1 through 5, were all released on a weekly basis. Part 6, Stone Ocean, on the other hand, was released in batches. So you get like a batch of like 12 to 13 episodes, then another 12 to 13 episodes, and now I think we've got like the rest of the series put it up there. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet because I read the manga, so I'm not.
I think the last part of Stone Ocean has been announced but not released. I'm not sure again, but
it's still like batches, right? So
yeah.
So it
I think
all
it's like
in one
12
go.
or 13 per batch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
I didn't even know that these batches had come out. And I think that's something that is actually kind of bothering me, because as much as I love JoJo and as much as I love all of the stuff that has come out from the JoJo series, I used to be like, oh, I can't wait for Diamond's Unbreakable, the next episode to come out, or I can't wait for Golden Wind to release the next episode. I don't get that kind of clamor anymore when it comes to Stone Ocean. And I feel that it's because of the fact that it comes out in a batch rather than on a weekly basis, that the hype is strong in the beginning, very, very strong. Like when Netflix announced that they were going to premiere Stone Ocean, I was so fucking hyped. And now it's kind of dead. No one really talks about Stone Ocean. No one really talks about a lot of series that, when it's released on a batch release schedule, you don't have that sort of like weekly discussion of, especially on Reddit or on my anime list or any other discussion board of like, oh, episode 1 discussion, episode 2 discussion, whatever. Because now, rather than saying like, oh, like we're all like having our little like theory crafting sessions about what's going to happen in the next episode, it's now the discussion of, oh, what episode you on now? I'm on episode 5. Oh shit, I'm on episode 13. I guess I can't talk to you about stuff because I don't want to spoil it for you anymore.
So if I am interpreting what you're saying correctly, Will, you're actually asking a series of questions rather than one. So
I'm not really
binge
asking,
culture.
I'm not really asking a serious question. I'm more like, this is an observation that has actually sort of affected like my perception of how anime is being syndicated now, and how it could potentially affect how other people consume and appreciate anime. Well, anime specifically. I'm not going to go into manga because the manga distribution in terms of the digital level is a lot more in its infancy than when it comes to anime streaming.
So your original question of our streaming service killing anime, would you consider
Streaming war? Not streaming service, but
streaming war.
But yes, in a way,
the competition,
the service, yeah.
right? Would you then also add kind of like a multi-part to it, saying that binge culture is also harming? Okay, it could benefit in some ways, but which side are you on, if you can even say a side, really?
See, this is where like I'm a little conflicted, because I like binging, right? I like watching a lot of stuff in one go.
Instant gratification, I get it.
But that in itself is also like a double-edged sword, because once you've consumed everything, what is there left to discuss?
Nothing.
Right? So
once it's over, it's over.
I remember when watching, and I hate to go back onto the JoJo thing, but I think it's just like a very good point to bring up JoJo, because when I was watching all the different series, like especially when parts 1 through 4 were already released on Netflix, and I watched them all in one go, I was like, that was fucking awesome, great. But those came out a long time ago, so it's fine that, of course, that I'm binging it right now. I was in the midst of watching week to week to week for Golden Wind, and the excitement that I got per episode was just off the roof. Like, I just loved watching every single episode. I couldn't wait for the next one to come out. And every now and then, like, you would just see more and more discussions about, oh, that fight was fucking awesome. That character was a piece of shit. I can't believe this happened to this JoJo and that and that and that. I don't really see much of it for Stone Ocean. And I feel it's because of the fact that like it might just be something to do with how we consume media now, or it might even just be something that's like very specifically Netflix, because Netflix does it for almost all of their series. especially the ones that they get exclusive rights to, that they just release everything in one go. They get everyone super hyped about it, and then once it comes out, it's dead. No one ever talks about that shit anymore. It's happened with Dark. It's happened with 1899, Stranger Things as well.
Right, these all being Netflix live actions, right?
Right?
Yeah.
So like, it's not just like an anime thing, but it's also like a general Netflix TV series kind of thing.
I think a very interesting observation that I've had from like a hype feedback, zeitgeist standpoint that goes to what you're saying in terms of binge versus weekly releases is the episode discussions on forums and on Reddit, for example.
And the wait time as well.
Exactly. I remember in the beginning when Netflix, for all intents and purposes, in my opinion, minus obviously physical media when you have the disc to go at your own pace, Netflix kind of introduced, or at least popularized the whole let's have it all,
the binge culture.
The season all in one go on this day, no questions asked. And in many ways, I personally appreciated that in the beginning, and I think a lot of people did. But from a feedback forum standpoint, it was quite interesting. I recall like a anime subreddit or other places, they would do the whole series as an episode discussion versus per episode because it all got released in one go as opposed to each week. And then they realized that the conversation got really muddled because some people were talking about certain things. They had to do spoiler tags and stuff. So then they broke it into per episode, except when they released it, they released all 6 episode discussion forums at the same time because, it all came out in one go. But then that fragmented the people that it may not appear obvious or, important to many, but when you go with the same people, on this journey, just like the gotta watch them all in many ways, you lose a sense of discussion and camaraderie because everyone is going at their different pace. Some people would just consume all and then maybe comment on episode 6. Some will comment on the first and the last. Some will comment every single one. Or most people will just be lurkers and not comment on any of them. It is a muddled mess, whereas if it's a week by week, there is a very obvious start point and end point, which is it starts when the episode gets released and ends when the next episode gets released. So it does fragment the fan base and the discussion.
Yeah. So and also, for example, then, right? Like if for example, Stone Ocean were to be released on a weekly schedule, they still keep a curve system, right? So they'll release 13 episodes. Fine. If it was a regular weekly release schedule, it would take about 3 to 3.5 months to consume everything. And then maybe they'll have like a 6-month break and then go into the next curve. Whereas if you did like a batch release, everything gets released in one go. Some people can consume it like on a weekly basis if they wanted to. But that's, again, like, it's rather than it being like, you have to follow week by week, you have a choice. And choices tend to, paralyze people. Like when
yeah.
Right. And then once let's say, for example, you then watch everything in one go. So rather than waiting for 6 months after watching the last episode, you end up waiting for 9 months, maybe even 10 months, depending on how fast you finish watching stuff. And so therefore, like, the hype for series, especially ones that just release in one go, end up dying really, 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 really fast because, like you said, there's less discussion for it. There's less people who would be able to keep up with the discussion because whilst I'm still languishing on episodes 2 or 3, someone's already completed the whole thing and given their full review. Right?
So I am going to amend your original question that you posed to me very early in this episode, which is, rather than streaming wars hurting anime, it seems like, at least right now, where we're heading towards is the binge versus weekly release.
No, that's just one thing. Again,
I see. Okay.
Again, so don't amend my question because
my bad.
Because in the end, that
ties all back.
That's just one thing.
Yeah,
one thing that Netflix does that is, in my opinion, slowly killing any momentum, any hype that an anime series can get. Because don't forget, with the anime discussions that happen behind the scenes as well, that in itself is also free advertising. Right? People talk about it, people hype about it, people give insights about how the episode goes, and therefore, rather than just like watching everything in one go, you have people who can consistently talk about a series for over like a 12 to 13 week period, and then afterwards build up enough hype for the upcoming season. Whereas in a batch release, you just let it all in one go. You wait 9 months, and whether or not your interest is still at the same level, you may or may not end up caring about the second seasons and beyond, or the second part, or whatever.
So, first thing is, Netflix is not the only one that's getting rid of their free tier. Crunchyroll, actually, their free tier is also with caveats, meaning that future releases and importantly, very importantly, simulcast titles are now not available anymore free with ads. So that is a relatively new implementation that they have kind of changed, because back in the day, everything was free with ads as long as you're willing to wait 1 week for
and you paid for the service. Right?
No.
But now,
free.
But even then, it's like even you paid for it as well. There's a lot of other platforms now that are changing the way that they promote products, the way that they even show products as well. Whether it's free or paid, I feel that the model consistently changes, and it inevitably hurts not just the consumer, but it also helps the creators and the animators that work behind the scenes to be able to get stuff on air, on stream.
Sure. The other thing that I think is important is Netflix, at least in Hong Kong, I can't speak for anywhere else, is that rather than releasing everything in batches for every anime series, again, with live action or with, for example, with JoJo, that's a different story. But other simulcasts, for example, in Netflix Hong Kong, there's Blue Lock, Spikes Family. I think Bleach is also the same.
My Hero Academia also did that too.
Yeah, so it is not. It used to be they would wait for the anime to kind of finish simulcast and then get it all in one batch.
Yeah, whether it's like a few days, maybe on the same day, very unlikely, but it could be like within a week you would be able to access it.
No. It would be when all of it was released. Like Muruko-chan, for example.
No. They were doing simulcast. I mean, they were simulcasting Attack on Titan.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
No,
but since then,
that's what I mean. They did do that. They did have that model where you could simulcast stuff as well.
But that was like maybe like the last year or two. Before then, they would just do their own, like, either our own licensed shit or we get it after the fact.
But I mean, look what's happened with Uncle Isekai as well, right? Even though it was on a weekly basis and it to come out a little bit afterwards, you still were able to watch it. Now that they've had the whole COVID debacle over, and the fact that they are about to release, they've released several more episodes after the suspension of the productions. You still can't access it on Netflix.
Yeah, and then also, for example, Komi Can't Communicate has a very interesting release schedule, and by interesting I mean very weird, or at least unorthodox, which is a staggered release schedule, meaning it's on a 3-week rotation, meaning the week it comes out, it first premieres in broadcast in Japan, television broadcast. Then the second week, which then would be the second episode using the 1, 2, 3 episode, using those 3 episodes as an example. The second week will premiere on Netflix Japan. So Netflix Japan would get episode 1, and the TV broadcast in Japan will get episode 2. Then the third week, it will be the first episode premiering on Netflix worldwide, then the second episode on Netflix Japan, and then the third episode on TV broadcast. So the arrangements of the licensing is staggered, and it's kind of confusing, which then means, unfortunately, when it comes to online forums, or at least fervor and feedback and sort of fan following, it is very fragmented. Again, I think fragmented is the name of the game here.
I think one of the worst release schedules actually was Great Pretender. because they released it per story arc, so rather than going by like in one batch,
like per case, right?
Yeah,
per
it was-
location.
exactly.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was like Saudi Arabia here, it was Japan over there, and then it was like France or Europe over
Because
there.
we watched it. The three of us watched it up to a certain point, and that was
the first season, right?
Yeah.
The first season. But then Shanghai took forever to come out, and that came out in one batch as well. So it wasn't even like a weekly, it wasn't even like a staggered, it wasn't even like a batch. It was like a mishmash of all three of them. And as much as I like the show, again, I gave it an 8. I artistically it looked great. Story-wise, it's okay. But like there was a lot of hype for it because people were like really, really into watching a show that was colorful and exciting and had a decent plot to carry it throughout. But when you then start releasing the episodes in a batch for one case, make you wait for 3-4 weeks, release the next case, and then make you wait again, and then after that, once the first part, quote unquote, is done, then you have to wait several months for the Shanghai one. It was just like, wait a minute, like, why are you guys talking about the Shanghai arc? I haven't even watched any of it yet. It's not even released on my side of the world. And that, like, in a way, is similar to the Komi Can't Communicate situation, where, like, Japan already knew what the fuck was going on 3 weeks ahead of time, but because I'm in America or I'm in Hong Kong and we have to wait for it all to come out first, discussions get disjointed. And we're not saying that, like, oh, you have to care for the discussion boards and Reddit and whatnot to be able to save the anime industry. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is that, like, it makes it really hard for the average consumer to just go in and appreciate stuff when you don't even know when something's going to be released, or you don't even know if once something comes out, whether it comes out in one batch, whether you'll be able to actually watch all of it in one go, or you have to wait for another like 3-4 weeks for the next part to come out, and so on and so forth.
I will answer a part of your question emphatically right now, which is, does this kind of licensing debacle, streaming wars, and all this fragmented stuff, does it kill the anime's momentum and therefore kills the anime industry's momentum at large? Absolutely, 100% yes. Now, when we split, and I really don't like using this term, but for lack of a better term, let's split the fan base into what we call hardcore, just like hardcore gamers, which I really don't like it, but fine, let's just use it.
At that point, it's like there's a level of gatekeeping behind it,
Yeah.
right? And we don't want to promote that.
But let's say someone that is more familiar or more into the anime and manga industry versus someone that still loves anime and manga but maybe don't follow everything on the day-to-day. Like you
like
and
an
I,
example would be like we follow Anime News Network, we follow AniChart, we look into
we look on
subreddits,
Mal, we
right?
care about Mal scores.
Whereas like the quote-unquote average consumer might just look at the catalog on Crunchyroll or Netflix, and then that's it, and watch whatever tickles their fancy.
Or like, hey, Will, I know you run an anime podcast. I've heard about this series called Spy X Family or Chainsaw Man. Have you heard about it before?
Yeah.
And then
the more inquisitive of the consumer base.
Like it got through to me, so it must be good, right? And then Will and I go to this person and being like, well, bro, sit the fuck down and get ready for a lecture. And then that person just leaves the door, and then we're just like, well, shit. But it does kill momentum. And for the average someone who is not that, ingrained into the Anime News Network and the My Anime list, a lot of the noise is done by like 20% of the fan base. Think about like noise. What was it, like noise to like a silent majority ratio, right?
Yeah.
And in those cases, it really is dependent on that person. But if I had to give sort of like a general rule, at least how I've seen it, people just drop off because there's a dozen million other things that they would watch, even within anime and manga, and they'll just forget about it. Or they'll just drop it and they'll just be like, well, that's kind of unfortunate, but then next week I'll be worrying about another show anyway. So
yeah, so like you've talked about it countless times, right, throughout this season, or I mean in season 4, how the delay for Uncle Isekai, whilst necessary, is going to impact on its score or on its the level of discussion about Uncle Isekai.
And it has.
It is a fantastic series. I really like Uncle Isekai.
I like it too.
But it's so unfortunate that like the way it's handled by Netflix, especially the fact that they had to take care of a contagion of COVID within the studios, which actually stopped all productions. And then once they're actually back up on the air, they're on to episode 13 soon to be discussed, because we don't know if they have released episode 13 yet due to another COVID outbreak. But like these kinds of situations, like these are going to happen, right? But it's also up to the streaming service itself, in particular Netflix, to be able to rectify the situation and be like, look, we knew there was a hiccup. It's all fixed now. Here are the other episodes. We still haven't been able to watch anything beyond episode 7.
Also, you assume that Netflix gives a shit about Uncle Isekai versus like the thousands of other shows that.
But there are other shows in Netflix that are going to be impacted by this as well, and this is just like the first example. There are going to be other episodes, other series that may face delays in production, and it might not even be COVID related. It might be a union strike. It might be a workplace incident. It might be something else. Will Netflix be able to go and say, hey, look, take the time you need and we'll bring it back on the air? No, who knows? But it's not like Netflix is the main baddie. It is one of the biggest baddies.
Yeah, it's just the one company that we decided to use an example for. Yeah. But absolutely. So that is the other side of the bad side of a weekly simulcast release, which is when it is not released on schedule for whatever reason, when it is not on there ready to stream when it says it is, everyone just kind of is like, well, then fuck you then, whoever you are, or whatever streaming service. And I get it, and I kind of don't. But at the same time, playing devil's advocate for batch release, like in favor of batch releases, people then who don't care about the My Anime List forums, the Reddit forums, they'll be like, yeah, I finished all of it. Because it was all available. Yeah, it was great. But let's move on.
Where do you stand on the spectrum of binge versus weekly?
So, recently, Romantic Killer is an anime series produced by Netflix.
Which you quite like, right?
I quite like. I thought it was very decent. Not outstanding, but very decent for sure. But it follows the traditional batch release all in one go, because I guess Netflix produced it, so then they have the licensing worldwide for it. It's not on Crunchyroll, whatever, or maybe whatever, they make a deal, whatever. But the point is, they have it from the get-go all. At the same time, as we said, there was Blue Lock, Spy X Family currently that is airing, that is also on other streaming platforms, but is week by week. Then you have Uncle Isekai that is in this weird hiatus absence due to understandable circumstances, but the average person won't Google Uncle Isekai delay or won't have on their news feed. We do, but they don't, right? So in a span of one season, we have all these different examples. And if I can be honest, personally, I don't give a shit about batch releases, in the sense that if it all releases in one go, it doesn't change how I consume it, because then I can be the arbiter.
And that's the thing, right? Like, even if everything comes up in one batch, right? Like, if it's a weekly basis, you can't do anything about it. Exactly. You have to wait per week, right?
But unless you can time travel, but yes.
But now that you then have the choice of, do you want to watch it all in one go, or do you want to watch the episodes today, or maybe actually, artificially impose a weekly basis for yourself.
And let me just tell you, I do not. I have plenty of instances where, it's all available literally right now. You fucking sit down for 5 hours. You can finish this whole series from beginning to end. Do you want to do that?
Or you watch 3 episodes tonight. Tomorrow on your lunch break, you watch an episode or two. And then when you get off work, you watch another 3 episodes. And by the time it's like Wednesday, Thursday, you're done.
Yeah, bada bing, bada boom, I'm done, right? I've watched everything for that season. Except I just don't feel the need. And this could be like a compulsion of mine, or just human nature, where like, now that you've given me everything on a platter, I'm just going to eat it when I feel like it, but I never find the time to feel like it, so I kind of give myself the fucking excuse of not consuming it.
Right?
And then like 3 months later, I forgot about it, but I should have consumed it or whatnot. But
it's all there. I can watch it anytime I want.
It's analysis paralysis, as you said, right? Having the choice, then it would be like, well, fuck. But if it was a weekly release, I feel the need to keep up with it.
Yeah.
Either that or I just drop it. Or I be content with myself and being like, all right, fine, I will wait. I know Uncle Isekai is going to be great because unless if they dramatically shift in quality or writing or whatnot, it's going to be fine. So I'm okay with it, however long I have to wait. But maybe when that day comes, there's a million other things that I want to reach to watch, and Uncle Isekai's not on that.
And let's be specific as well. We're talking about this as a consumer, not as a podcaster, right? Having a batch release.
Oh, that's a fucking different thing, bro.
Right? Having a batch release is actually very helpful because then we can finish everything in one go and be able to discuss it in an upcoming recording.
Oh shit, I have to record with Will in 5 hours. Hold on, there's like 10 episodes, so 10 times 25. Yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that.
1.5 you want?
No, fuck that. Fuck that bullshit. But I can.
But you see, right? Like, of course, like there is like benefits to having a batch release. We're not saying it is like the thing that's going to completely kill the anime industry, but it does pose issues in terms of if you are active on a discussion board, if you do have friends that you want to discuss an anime series with. How do you even collaborate that? Where if you have a friend who's only watched the first episode, or maybe only just a prologue, like Witcher Mercury, right?
I mean, I didn't finish Cyberpunk Edge Runners until very recently, and only then was I like the last person to finish it. Even though I should be one of the first, technically, among many of my friends and peers, just because. It was always on there, but there's everything else. I know it's going to be good, so let's just leave it at that.
And Cyberpunk is a good one you brought up as well because that one was released on a batch, right?
Yes, exactly.
I would say that if it was released on a weekly basis instead,
it will do harm, I think.
You think so?
I think it will.
I actually think on the inverse because at least people will still be discussing it. Whereas once you have everybody who watched it all in 1 week, that's kind of it. People don't really talk about Cyberpunk Edge Runners much anymore. Not at least in the last 3 weeks of this recording.
I do understand what you're trying to say, but I think the the discussion would shift from when you recommend, in my opinion, in general, when I recommend a show to someone, and this is just very broadly speaking, unless if they are a more dedicated anime seasonal watcher, they will just wait till the whole cur is done.
Yeah, but again, you're saying this specifically to Cyberpunk, right?
No, I meant in general.
Well, because I would say that if it was Stone Ocean, I would rather it be weekly than a batch release.
Right.
Right. So then, like, I would apply the same to Cyberpunk. I feel that if you had enough time in between each episode for people to actually discuss it, and again, free promotion, right? Free advertising, people can discuss it on their channels.
But
and
most
other
of
boards.
these people don't discuss it.
But again, we're now talking about most people. Right,
I see. Okay, okay.
My anime list still has discussion boards for episode. Right, they still talk about it on a weekly basis. I would wager that if there was a Cyberpunk weekly release, same thing would happen. And in fact, you would have people talking about it over a longer period, a longer sustained period, rather than one go. What you're saying is more like a short term thing, which is also like a very, very valid thing. You want to be able to package everything in one go and say, hey, look, if you want a good anime. All 10 episodes are out right now. Go watch it. It'll be a blast. That is like a good point to having a batch release, and I can say that it would work for Cyberpunk. On the inverse, I felt that if it had like a weekly release, you would be able to garner enough suspense. You would be able to garner enough attraction for people to at least sustain your attention for the series over a longer period of time. And people might still be talking about it to this day, as opposed to maybe in that 1 week they all watched it and then moved on to the next thing.
I would say batch releases overall, in general, broadly speaking, is very palatable to a quote-unquote normal weeb.
Well, to Netflix as well, because that's what the Netflix model was. Like, you want to watch everything, here you go. You can binge everything you want. Like you said, they started the whole binge culture. It makes sense for them to continue doing that. But at the same time, it also comes at a detriment for some fans, however, whatever percentage it may be. I feel that, if you're able to at least sustain discussion for it, you could at least get a longer term appreciation for the series. Now, whether or not that would work for Cyberpunk, or any other series. Who knows? Because guess what? They don't do weekly releases, right? So we have no comparison point whatsoever. You can't compare like one series to another because that's apples and oranges.
Yeah. In my opinion, if you follow anime by the season, if you follow it week by week, chances are, of course, not everyone, but chances are you are dedicated to the industry enough that you would know those things.
Yeah.
That you would, of course, some people, some followers, some, forum users will get lost in the shuffle. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Does it kill momentum doing a batch release versus week by week? Absolutely.
Case by case,
But
right?
in general, yes, it does kill. It does kill. It definitely fragments at the very least.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I would argue that if you were, interested in anime and manga to the level that you worry about the seasonals, the curs, the split curs or whatnot, if you're even at that level of knowledge and familiarity, these rules of does it kill momentum or not does not, in my opinion, apply to you personally. Because
but what percentage of the consumer?
My God, such a good question,
right?
Such a fucking good question. I don't know, but
I would argue it's a very small percentage, right?
Well, wait, as in the small percentage of
small, but not saying like it's
which
in terms of people who are really on top of things and like know like, oh, these are releasing. I'm gonna like, I would say it's not single digit percentage. I would say like maybe 20-25%, but it's still like a minority in this sense.
I would bet you everybody who has a Netflix anime subscription, Netflix subscription that we know that might or have watched Uncle Isekai will not know about episode 13 delay, for example, or won't understand why episode 8 onwards is not on there, for example, even though episode 7 is not a finale episode.
I mean, how many times have you asked, like, have you watched certain series? Like, oh, that series, okay. Is it on Netflix? That's the kind of discussions I usually have. And it's like these are what you would say are like the day-to-day average consumer of media.
I mean, how many people have you talked to when I say we start an anime podcast and they go, oh, so it's on YouTube? And I'm like, no, audio.
Yeah.
And they go, no, but what about YouTube? And I'm like, audio and visual are two different things.
But again, it's like people just either don't know or they just don't feel a need to look into answers for it.
Yeah.
And they just want to be able to access something and just consume it, right?
And I think that actually goes back to your original question of does it kill it or not? In fact, in a very weird way, I think it's indications that it is very, very opposite of dead. Because when you get of a certain, proportion or number, when your fan base is of a certain size, you're going to get people on a spectrum. But if we consider the majority of people who don't follow news, who don't follow, VAs for this, who wouldn't know who Kanahana is, or who wouldn't know, they might know a Makoto Shinkai, but they don't know maybe a Satoshi Kon. They might not know.
They'll definitely know Ghibli.
Yeah, but they won't know a Yuasa, for example, right? When you reach that certain, using a very Wall Street term, market penetration.
Penetrate the market, yeah.
Yeah, bro. When you penetrate the market with a certain size, that just comes with the territory.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's far from dead. If anything, it shows significantly how much it has grown since then.
I don't know. I mean, the fact that they're losing subscribers is already one thing.
Yeah, but that's just Netflix and a lot of other streaming platforms.
But again, right? Just by saying that's just Netflix, I mean, that's still a good chunk of people who would have been able to access anime in the first place. So you inherently do lose that percentage.
Absolutely. So I'm not denying that.
What I'm thinking is like what you're reinforcing.
I love this conversation. It's great.
You're reinforcing the people who already exist on the platform, but there's still going to be discrepancies in terms of how you use each platform, right? Again, we talk about Netflix in terms of anime, but we already know it is not an anime platform. It is a platform that has anime. So to say that Netflix is going to be like your go-to for anime resources, no, that's not what we're trying to say.
To be fair, though, side note, Crunchyroll, can you please do picture mode because it's really good. So for me to read manga
and now let's go
also watch anime at the same time.
Now let's go to
please.
Crunchyroll. Let's go to Crunchyroll because I think we've talked enough about Netflix. I mean, we can keep talking, but like the issues are going to cycle back. Right?
Yeah, I think if I can just summarize how I feel about Netflix is they clearly are now reverting a bit away from it's either batch release or nothing. And in fact, they're doing simulcasts, which is something that I actually thought would never happen because that just wasn't in Netflix style.
Yeah. Whether it is a calculated move or whether it's an act of desperation, who knows?
But I welcome it.
They need to do something to be able to keep the fan base alive, right?
So I would say it's not a total L, but it's not a total W. It's like somewhere in between.
It's in that middle gray area where like some stuff they do is great, but generally what Netflix has done, particularly to anime, is just like, I would like to see some more improvement, whether it is to actually go back into doing more simulcast stuff. Disclaimer, they're not going to do that. Or maybe just be able to be more clear in terms of whether something is going to be released in fruition, like Uncle Isekai.
Netflix does have more W's recently with the simulcast, because that's been a relatively newer phenomenon compared to batch release. So take that simulcast as you will.
But again, with the simulcast,
of course,
there's still an Uncle Isekai issue.
Of course.
And that is just going to be the first of many. I hope it doesn't, but you never know. Now, Crunchyroll, of course, is like the gold standard when it comes to anime online,
especially after they absorbed Funimation. Yeah.
But because the fact that they've absorbed Funimation, now that they are like a titan in its own, they literally are the only ones that can be like deemed like the premier anime streaming platform. Like I hate to not put High Dive there, but
but they're really small in comparison. They really are David and Goliath in that. Like I would never ever, as when people say, where can I watch anime with a subscription service, very rarely will I ever, in fact I've never said, oh, you should check out High Dive.
Yeah. Now onto Crunchyroll though. Crunchyroll doesn't have it doesn't have its own clean slate either. There are of course some other issues that, whilst it is the premier anime streaming platform, it also does hold back a few things that makes me wonder, like, what are they doing? What are they thinking? For example, Witch from Mercury. You watched the prologue and you loved it. It was emotional, it was gripping, it was great, and you wanted to watch the rest of the series, right? So it's all airing now, but there were a lot of users that were voicing their discontent on Twitter, saying that whilst they were watching it, and they kept refreshing the page, they kept changing settings and all that, there were no subtitles in the first 25, 30 seconds. There were issues in terms of actually getting subtitles on.
Really? I didn't know that because I watched it on the Gundam YouTube channel because it's on there for free.
The prologue or the first episode?
The prologue.
Yeah, the prologue was fine. It was the first episode after when it all came out. That's
shit.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's been fixed yet because I
have also not watched Witch from Mercury. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, but that's just like one minuscule issue, right? We can talk about the whole subtitling issues.
No, but it makes or breaks it, right? And the subtitling issue aside, which I do think is an issue that we should have its own.
They're owned by Sony, right? They got acquired by Sony.
Yes,
and it's one of the biggest multinational companies in the world.
Yes.
Yet they're still using freelance translators to be able to get their stuff out. I mean, again, it's a very, very gray area thing.
Yeah, I think the whole subbing, dubbing thing should deserve its own, whether it's BP, AD, EP. It really needs its own thing so then we can go all the way, or at least to a certain degree, all the way with all the aspects of it. But yes, it is a thing. It is a thing.
It is a valid criticism of valid of how Crunchyroll runs their business. Because,
also Netflix with subs.
Oh, Netflix. It's not so much that like their subs are like bad. They're terrible. They're terrible.
They're terrible.
Awful. Holy
They're
crap.
super bad, but not.
And I'm sorry to all the freelance translators that do work on Netflix. I actually have a friend who does do freelance translation in Swedish for Netflix anime.
Okay.
And she is very much like tight schedules, got to get things done because it's the batch release. They got to get everything out in one go. So your timeline is even shorter, right? And the fact that Netflix and even Crunchyroll, they release everything in one go, which means that not in one go, but like when they release everything, they also then release the dubs. And most of the time, dubs are in more than just 3 languages, not just English, Japanese, and in cases Chinese, it's also like Arabic, Swedish, Spanish, Portuguese, French, whatever it may be. The other
You
thing
can't forget the French. They really love their
They
anime.
love
Like,
their
no
anime.
joke.
I wonder how Blue Lock is doing in France.
Fuck, dude.
I
It's too soon, dude. Too soon,
I
bro.
actually want to know if there are any French listeners here. Do you like Ayawashi more or Blue Lock more? And whatever reason you have, valid. I don't care what it is. Just let me know if you like either or you may like both.
So Crunchyroll.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to talk about with Crunchyroll, and this is like a disaster that's been happening from the get-go, is what the fuck is going on with their Webtoon partnership? Because ever since they released Noblesse, Tower of God, and God of High School, we ain't got shit else.
Tower of God
Did
got
get
season
season 2,
2.
but there's been no release date, not even release year, right? So they just said it's going to be season 2, but is it going to come out this year, 2023, or is it going to come out next year? Who fucking knows? God of High School, no mention whatsoever about a second season. Don't even talk about Noblesse because you like ragged on it when you were talking about it, right?
And I think going back of what we were touching upon earlier, the fact that the Crunchyroll anime happens after the OVA, which is also on Netflix, but not. I mean, sorry, also on Crunchyroll. Pardon me. Also on Crunchyroll, but not produced as a Crunchyroll exclusive, causes so much fucking confusion that even I got confused.
And then now we also do have, a webtoon anime that's out right now, Lookism, but it's
Isn't
not
it
on
Tapas?
It's not on. It's on Webtoon as well. Tapas also, I think they also syndicate some webtoons as well. But it's not on Crunchyroll, but instead it's on Netflix. So the Webtoon partnership had garnered a lot of hype because it's merging 2 different niches. On one side, the Webtoon fandom, and on the other side, the anime fandom.
I can answer your question with a high degree of confidence. You ready? So, Will, I need to sit you down and explain to you a couple of things.
Already sitting down.
Good. I'm glad. So you're doing good, right? So, listen, buddy, pal. Crunchyroll and Webtoons, they really love each other. They were together, and they kind of still are together. Will
Webtoon said he was going to go get some milk and then never came back. What happened? Where is he?
So they are bound in a partnership contract, but they're kind of seeing other people. I hate to break it to you. So you might have a couple of parents, Will. They might love each other. They might see each other from time to time, but they haven't recently. But look, Will, I
love this analogy. It's a silent divorce.
You might need to chill. Don't worry. Maybe things are okay. That they just might need their time apart. Separate and then realize they need each other. But no, for real though. I think really that's it. It's because they're sweeping it under the rug. So then,
and you remember that year when they released Tower of God and got a high school?
How many times have we talked about, bro? You're blowing your webtoon load all in one go with all the crazy high IPs,
and not to mention that too. But the fact that like they're decent shows. I don't really like God of High School, and Tower of God's pretty okay.
I like God of High School, but I like Tower of God more. I don't like Noblesse.
But would you say those are like platform defining, like these are the exclusives that will get you to join Crunchyroll? Because that year when they released their Crunchyroll awards, every single nomination for each category had at least a Tower of God or a God of High School in there. And I understand it's the Crunchyroll awards, of course they're going to toot their own horn, but like goddamn, like how up your own ass do you have to be to put those categories and put those shows in those categories, knowing full well that what else was coming out is way better than what was Tower of God, God of High School, and Noblesse?
I think of all the Crunchyroll exclusives, and I might be wrong. I don't think I am.
Tonikawa.
Yes. Fly Me
Yeah.
to the Moon is their most successful one.
Highest rated on Mal as well.
Inspector has a second season,
And it's
bro.
like a 6 something, right?
Okay, I really like the manga.
Let's not even talk about Gibiate and X-Arm. Holy fuck! Like,
Wait, no, we have to talk about X-Arm. It's the best, bro. It's the even Mars of is it Mars of Destruction?
Mars of Destruction, yeah.
They don't hold a candle to X-Arm, but
So with Crunchyroll, of course, being a for-profit platform, right? Like the money's there, right? So
they don't need to tell that they're breaking the contract or anything. They're just like, fuck it. Like, it's not working out. Like, literally, it's not working out, so let's just...
What I mean more is that, like, when you have that much money, especially after acquiring Funimation and being acquired by Sony, why do you not have the money to be able to produce good stuff? Because I can't, for the life of me, recommend a Crunchyroll exclusive to anybody, maybe outside Tony Kawa, because you vouch for it, right? And it does show. It's got a pretty popular following on my anime list, but everything else is just like, ugh. It's the same with Netflix as well. Netflix is not.
You could be a video game publisher, but not have a fucking goddamn clue about video game design. Similarly, you could be a studio exec for an animation studio, but not know a fucking goddamn thing about why Isekai XYZ is doing massive gangbusters, but a Yuasa, Satoshi Kon kind of hybrid movie thing, whatever, is not doing well.
Yeah, but I mean, Crunchyroll advertises itself as a platform for the weebs, for the anime fandom. Yet what they produce is not for the anime fandom.
Well, that's because it's by default.
Yeah, I understand. It's because of the fact that it's marketing, it's advertising, and you need to be able to push that.
I
top
should
dollar,
speak into the mic more.
right?
Yeah, but
so that I understand that move, but at the same time, you're also shooting yourself in the foot by not producing anything good.
And I think they will continue to, at least from the Webtoon partnership, will.
I don't see anything coming up. There's been it's been dead. There's been no talk about anything else.
Even Tower of God, fine, sure, you can have that one if you want. But like, how many L's have you had to just get 2 half W's, which I guess equals 1 W? I guess.
Yeah, and that I guess that would be the extent of the criticism I have for Crunchyroll, because generally Crunchyroll does well.
They do licensing very well. 100%.
Subtitling and like
everywhere though.
Everywhere, right?
I mean, for God's sakes, Crunchyroll, when I click on your website and you click on like a different season or whatever, why is there 23 seasons and each season is actually not a different season, but it's for different dubs,
Portuguese, French,
or
Spanish,
sub, which I get. Like, don't get me wrong, right? Like, you want to have those options, but why are they a separate season? Why can't it be like, either YouTube or Netflix? And maybe I'm not a computer programmer or something, so I don't know how these interface works, but just have like a settings and then toggle.
It's because it's a lack of competition.
It is.
Right?
Essentially, that's it. They got complacent. They got arrogant because they're the only licensing people in town.
And now there's no Funimation in town. In fact, they've basically killed off Funimation.
So here begins my compliments for High Dive. So High Dive is a streaming platform that is owned by Sentai now. They were free agent for a little bit, and I was worried about them. But why do I sing praises to High Dive?
They broadcast niche stuff.
Yes.
A lot of times when they do release something, it's not to say that we want to see uncensored stuff.
Do you like Akiba Maid War,
and not to say we
gentlemen?
want to see uncensored stuff, but if you do, High Dive has it.
Do you like your boy Kong Ming, guys? Do you like Bloom Into You?
All great, by the way.
All great. And that goes, my point is, because they are the little guys. Can you believe it or not? High Dive is the underdog story in this David and Goliath story. They have to be very, very particular, not only to get the scraps of the licensing stuff, but to have to be very, very conscious and on point with the zeitgeist, the hype train, the expectations, the sourcing, if you will, because they don't have the funds, they don't have the reach that Crunchyroll slash. I mean, we're not going to call it Funimation anymore because they don't
It's
only
just Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll, right?
I mean, we if you want to talk about like,
I mean,
Titans,
Verve got cut.
Yeah.
That was really sad for me because that meant that you can't use. What was it? There was like a. If you use Verve, it was like
you could you could watch like Rooster
3
Teeth stuff. You could watch like a bunch of other stuff under Verve.
Yeah.
No, I think because Verve is under Warner Media, or wasn't under Warner Media.
It was something like that, and then after the merger, they had to break it off or something. But no, because it was with Funimation.
Yeah.
So,
who were at the time under Warner Media.
Yes, and now it's part of Sony under Crunchyroll, absorbed.
Yeah,
right. But High Dive had to basically hustle for it, and they have carved out this niche that, in my opinion, their quality to quantity ratio is way, way, way higher than Crunchyroll. Does that mean then
everybody should just jump to High Dive? No.
In fact, I would say the opposite, unfortunately, because if you just want all the latest and greatest, the hype hits, Crunchyroll's the way to go. It's the only way to go, really.
And to an extent, Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix would be second, even if it's not
its own problems, right?
Or not even technically an exclusive anime streaming platform. So High Dive is like the really quote unquote like dedicated hardcore weebs would need to go to.
But they only offer like a small slice of the pie.
They like.
And then you were talking about how
they have made an abyss, right? That's great. That honestly is great. But
you're talking about like High Five being like a David Goliath situation, right? Well, you do have other Goliaths like Disney Plus and Amazon Prime. Don't forget, like back in 2017, they had a service called Anime Strike, which meant that you would be able to access their anime catalog, but you had to pay extra on top. So rather than just paying like $7 a month for
you
Amazon
can
Prime,
pay up. You get those fucking figurines,
right?
Bro. You guys pay for those Blu-rays.
And
Shut the fuck up.
And you got Amazon Prime, so we deliver it to you for free under that subscription. But you pay $7 for Amazon Prime, and on top of that, you pay another $4 to be able to access Anime Strike. That service died in 1 year.
There you go. That's the reason why it dies, because
why the fuck? Why
the fuck?
It's like it goes back to the cable days. It's like I just want to watch basic cable. Oh, but if you pay an extra $7 a month, you get
have like
ESPN.
200 channels too.
You get to watch. You get the sports package, or you get the movie package. It's like no.
I don't want Cinemax.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, like AMC, please just.
AMC was only good for Walking Dead, and that was it.
Breaking Bad,
right? So, but outside of that,
no, Mad Men, right?
I don't want to watch anything on AMC. I don't want to watch anything on Cinemax. So. Amazon also has the issue, of course, not being region friendly. Very, very, very bad when it comes to...
Also, it's just so massive that it really can't pay attention to literally every facet of itself.
And it keeps pumping money into productions that people don't really care about. And then we got Disney Plus, which is another titan in the streaming landscape, but Disney jail. Very, very prevalent. I mean, the fact that like people can talk about episode 25 for summertime render, but I'm only on episode 13 because that's all I could access, and Bleach is also still not here as well. Like, it's a weird time. It's a very, very weird time. So I don't think that like Disney Plus is, of course, like the anime platform. Far from it. It's a very, very small catalog. I think they have more K-dramas, like Korean dramas, than actual like anime. But it's still baffling that like, especially with Bleach. Now you can say what you want about Bleach. So you can meme the fuck out of it. You can shun it if you want. It is still one of the biggest properties in the world. And Disney Plus has the audacity to not only acquire the rights, but then afterwards not release anything on their platform for the long time, whilst Netflix actually is. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying high praises for like the other evil in terms of this streaming debacle, but why? Like, you have all the money to be able to get any licenses you want, and you also have the platform to be able to put more than just Disney stuff on there. Why are you like holding back Bleach? Why are you holding back stuff like Summertime Render? I get Summertime Render is not a huge property, but it's still a really good property
because they can.
But Bleach, on the other hand, like, what the fuck?
Because they can,
and
they don't know better.
So then, if you don't have Netflix and you only have Disney Plus, or you don't have any of those, you only have Netflix and you don't have Disney Plus or Amazon Prime, Where are you gonna go watch your anime now?
Very simple, Will. Do you like
Sailing the high seas.
exactly?
Yeah.
Look, I don't advocate that.
But it's very
It's
much
just
a reality.
it's just a fact.
If you look
of
up
any show.
if you look up like streaming as well as looking into illegal sites as well, torrent sites are at the top of the list.
Yeah, we don't. I just want to be very clear, and Will, please verify, and I'm sure you are going to. We do not condone, endorse any of that.
But what we're saying is that
That's a reality.
the problems that come with these streaming platforms are now pushing people back into looking at piracy, and we don't want that. We get that it can be expensive. We understand that maybe you live in a region, like you live in like Romania, or you live in Guadeloupe, or wherever where you can't access stuff. That is, of course, a different reality. What we're saying is that for the general consumer that should be able to access stuff because you're in a location that has all these services, why are these streaming sites making it so difficult for us to be able to watch the latest and greatest anime?
And maybe you are not. You have to cancel it due to financial burden. I get that, right?
Or you just want to cut costs, right?
Yeah.
You're being more a little cost conscious.
Not everyone is like Will and I that. Because not only because of our side hustle as podcasters, but also because as just general anime enthusiasts, I can tell you right now, not only multiple subscription services, have a VPN as well.
We want to be able to watch everything.
Exactly.
But even then, even though we do have Disney Plus, we do have Amazon Prime, we do have Netflix, we do have Crunchyroll and High Dive and VPNs, and we still can't watch certain series. Like what the fuck?
Or the fact that we have to jump through so many fucking hoops, right? The issue that I think. So okay, hold on. Let me get my train of thoughts in order. So I think rather than punish users, consumers that at the end of the day just want to get their anime or manga or whatnot, right? You have to, as a provider platform, should try to do your due diligence, try your very best to make it as easy, simple, palatable, such that the only excuse that you can give to the other, in this case, the consumers, is, bro, we made it as fucking easy as can be. Why?
And I think that's like, I guess the crux of the debate I wanted to start, right? Because of the intense.
Oh shit! Like over an hour in, then we got to the crux of it.
With the intense competition there is with all these streaming platforms, you would think that each platform would want to try and make it as easy as possible for their current user base to be able to use their product, and also entice newcomers to join, or at least people who unsubscribed in the first place to bring them back. But rather now what we're seeing is that it's actually bringing up a lot more hurdles. There are a lot more paywalls behind. There's a lot more licensing issues, distribution issues, subtitling issues.
Well, I think a good amount of it, and again, I am not on the side of the evil, large, monolith corporations.
Far from it, yeah.
But licensing is a fucking mess, really. And I also think that when a lot of these different companies and corporations have their own kind of fragmented series that is, they took it off of Netflix, for example, in this case with live action, or
let's not even talk about live action, because holy fuck, we're talking about live action anime. Oh my god, there's way too many on Netflix right now.
Yeah, but besides that, right? Maybe, and this is just speculation here, that Netflix knows that we're going to lose a certain portion. Subscribers are leaving by the droves due to financial or COVID or whatever it is. The reality is we're losing people. And we are losing money. How can we recoup part of that cost? Maybe not all of it, because we know we won't get some of them back, but how do we recoup it? Free with ads, I guess. Make it cheaper in certain cases by having a cheaper plan.
renegotiate licensing contracts.
or just be like, we're just gonna have to bite the bullet and say goodbye to those licensing agreements, just because no matter how much money that we would pay them under the sun, we won't be able to get them because Disney Plus or Crunchyroll or
Yeah.
they will just have the exclusive rights. Period. Just like how we would have the exclusive rights for certain shows. Period.
Yeah, believe it or not, I would have liked the old Netflix model where it was just a few anime series and there was stuff that like you wanted to watch, and then there'd be a few classics.
Debatable.
It's debatable, but what having like increased quote unquote accessibility has shown is that the accessibility is limited by geography, limited by subscription base, limited by release schedules.
At that point, I would just say, if you are that, involved or want to be that into anime, just get Crunchyroll instead, and
deal with the issues that Crunchyroll has.
Yeah, and then just kind of just forget about Netflix as an anime platform, but kind of have it around, just because in general Netflix still has a lot of stuff to offer, whether it is just anime or if you include live action. Because I mean,
yeah, but as much as like
or have your family use it,
as much
well.
as you want to detach Netflix from anime, Netflix will continuously get more licenses, get more exclusives, and shove it in your face. Dude, the hype trains for Stone Ocean and Cyberpunk Edge Runners were ridiculous. But now that it's all done and dusted, nobody's talking about that shit. We're all just waiting for the next thing. And it's just not something that you only see in anime, but you see it in all the other shows. Like,
I mean, how
nobody talks about Stranger Things anymore, and that was like the most hype thing ever when the season 4 was announced.
That is one of the drawbacks of batch release, and also large corporations won't move a muscle until they are forced to.
Or they see that there's money to be made from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can't... I know it may sound like I'm being sympathetic, but I am, because...
That's just how it is.
That's just how it is, bro. We talked about last BP, animation studios are for profit. Well, yeah, duh, no shit, you might say to me. But I'm like...
Nobody's producing Attack on Titan for free.
Yeah.
Right?
Then why are you expecting them to potentially, even though it may not be morally right or ethically right, break up unions or, underpay staff,
or like give incredibly like tough deadlines for freelancers?
Is it right? Absolutely not. But if you say if I was in the exact position, will I make those choices? Oof. That's a very tough question that
it's a big oof is what
that I do not want to answer, because I don't need to answer, because I don't know and I won't probably ever be in that position. But it does beg the question that things are just not black and white.
Yeah.
And
so maybe in terms of like the discussion we started from the beginning of whether anime streaming services or streaming services in general are killing the anime industry, I mean, yeah, we maybe dial it back a bit and say, no, it's not like it's putting it into the grave, but rather what it's doing is that it's giving up a long-term fandom for short-term gratification, very much in the way that Netflix's like subscription model is, right? Like, I think
for me, it's growing pains, meaning that when you, as an industry fan base fandom, grow a certain size, these problems come with the territory when you become a duopoly or a monopoly streaming service.
And the fact that anime is now in the mainstream.
Yeah, you will... These issues are not surprising to me. They're not right, but they're not surprising to me. And I think that, sure, Crunchyroll exists today and is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, anime streaming platforms.
And it will never not be, right? And we're never going to be kicking Netflix out of anime, because they're always going to be able to get licenses and get exclusives. Amazon Prime will get their hands on whatever's left over.
Now, we are not time-stamping this BP, but if you, dear listeners, want to timestamp what I'm about to say and say, Jason, why the fuck did you say that? Sure, go ahead. So, what if Wit Studio has its own streaming platform? What if Studio Trigger Kadokawa has its own streaming platform? What if KyoAni or Studio Ghibli is like, yeah, Disney Plus is kind of dope. Aren't we like the Disney of anime? Yeah, we'll do Ghibli Plus.
You stop right there, because you know damn well that if Ghibli were to do that, holy fuck, it would just become like a Disney Plus, and everyone's gonna hate it. Because who gets to sit at Ghibli's table? What happens if Ghibli decides to all of a sudden break out of doing just animation and actually brings in some Japanese live action?
Featuring, actually, wait, who would? What if they get the old VAs for Princess Mononoke to play the live action of Princess Mononoke? Holy shit!
Ooh, you do not want to die by that. Holy fuck!
No, okay. So, but I really think that, is it a loss? It depends if you are a casual kind of, if you dabble in anime or you are dining with anime. You know what I mean? I think for hardcore fan base participants like you and I who follow news on the daily, we will figure stuff out such that we will get our anime, we will get our barometer, fan feedback, hype train.
We will hit some hurdles, whether it's financially or adding more subscriptions and whatnot.
But we want it bad enough that we will figure some way, like over it, around it, whatever it is. If you are not really into anime, this is not even part
You're a casual observer.
Right? I mean, thank you for listening to this random BP episode, but yeah, I mean,
we certainly hope it's more like it's not all doom and gloom for you, right? We want to be able to at least talk about the anime we want, and also make sure that you as a listener would have already had access to those series. And I mean, depending on your geography, right?
In the very, very simple statistical terms, 5 out of 5 is 100%, but 5 out of 100 is 5%. But the number being 5 is exactly the same.
That's the constant there.
So the fan base, I think, has, in a figurative sense, went from 5 to 100, but the amount of people that this kind of streaming wars affect is still 5. Okay, the number might be a bit higher, but you know what I mean, right? Like,
yeah, I just think that the complications that come with release schedules, that come with batch releases, that come with failed partnerships, that come with increased pay tiers or ad supported tier lists, it becomes an area where it becomes more daunting for an average consumer to go in and figure out how they're going to go about watching anime, if they even care about anime.
I don't fucking play any MOBAs or League of Legends, but I remember when I fucking first tried to play that shit, it was the most toxic bullshit, reading 5,000 guides, the fuck am I doing here? Everyone is ragging on me. I'm feeding different lanes. What the fuck is wards, and I don't even know.
And so imagine now, you're just an everyday anime fan. Let's say you're from Latvia or you're from Venezuela or whatnot. It's I want to watch the Monogatari series. Okay, so you're first gonna want to get a VPN.
No. But listen. So you don't want to you don't want to watch it when they release, because I know that makes sense.
We're not even talking about release schedule. We're talking about what's even available to you, depending on what services you have. Right?
Wait, no. Will, it's fine, right? Because when they release, I just watch it in chronological order, and I have a VPN, so it will be fine, right?
Sure. If you want to watch this on DVD or watch this in the cinema or watch this on Netflix or Crunchyroll or whatnot.
So,
let's not even talk about movie
all
releases.
JoJo's, they are in different parts, right? So season 2 is
that's some low level difficulty there. Come on, man. That's not even that hard.
When they say AOT Attack on Titan the final season, it is the final season. Do you know how many? Okay,
final season part 1, final season part 2, final season final part.
How many times have we had to? I had to literally answer that question. Why is the final season not the final season?
The other thing I want to talk about there's Spy X Family. Why can't we just call it season 1, season 2? Why does it have to be part 1, part 2? Why can't we just keep it simple that way?
Because it's split curse, so technically they had to.
Why not? I mean, hella stuff. He does a 1 curse season and a 1 curse season. Why not just do that?
Because it's technically within the same year, and to give people a split cur break, they had to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Like realistically,
but
but who would know that? Who fucking would know that?
Right?
Only you and I would know that among our friend group. No one else would know that.
And then the other thing, I mean, we're running over time. For
Like
sure.
Spy X Family also has season 2. Congratulations, obviously. But yeah,
What are your thoughts about canon movies?
you're fucking dropping this bomb on me now.
Yeah, right. Like you have to watch Mugen Train. You have to watch Kaguya-sama the movie. You have to watch Jujutsu Kaisen Zero.
I'm gonna.
You have to watch all the progressive movies for SAO.
What is canon is Jason fucking dodging the shit out of that topic to leave it for a future time. You can always reach us through our email. Did you know, Will? gapalette@gmail.com, gapalette@gmail.com, or lowercase, all one word. On Twitter, using the handle @PaletteGood, capital B and capital G, all one word. GAP Discord server. Check them out. Check us out. Talk to us about it. www.goodanimepalette.com, all lowercase, all one word, is our website. Will is trying to make sure that I would mess up our season 5.
I didn't say anything.
Music credits. He gave me that look. He closed his eyes and gave me that death stare. Music credits for this episode. Our intro music is Overthinking by Dylan Sitz. We do not have any break music, and our outro music is I Don't Mind instrumental version by Particle House. You can support the music artists we feature by listening to them on Spotify, Apple Music, or other various music listening platforms. And our royalty-free music was provided by Epidemic Sound. If you're interested, you can sign up using the referral link that is in our show description. Terms and conditions apply. William, in order to answer your question about canon movies, like lore canon, right?
Yeah.
Bruh, just turn it into like an OVA, release it sometime after the fact, or have it available on streaming services.
I mean, that's what they did with Mugen Train.
I mean,
right?
Slime Diary is literally the movie is literally on Crunchyroll as we speak.
Yep.
So you can watch that, sure, no problem. How do I feel about that? People gotta make money some way.
Yeah, I mean,
but they don't have enough for like a full cur. They don't want to drag it out and have fillers like.
It just makes it more complicated. That's it.
Absolutely makes it more complicated. Who the fuck will know this in between kind of thing? Then they watch season 1 of Demon Slayer and then season 2, and then being like, the fuck happened in between that? Something supposed to happen that didn't.
Imagine watching the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen and then X character shows up and you're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Well, that one's less egregious because Jujutsu Kaisen 0 is a prequel.
But it's still canon.
Well, yeah.
It's still canon. That's the thing.
But I would say Mugen Train is way, way, way more egregious because it's fucking mandatory, bro. Okay, great. It has like the 6-episode OVA, ONA, whatever, right?
And it only came out like 6-9 months after the movie came out, which, fine. You could still access it.
You can have it. You can have that, sure.
Yeah. But then when you get into the territory of having to watch movies to be able to supplement or even like be part of your consistent lore watching of a series that you've watched on Crunchyroll and Netflix, that's a whole different bag of worms, right? Like that's not what's killing the anime industry, but it does complicate it.
Or just have it readily available to give as little excuses to the user or consumer such that it's just available. It's just there. You don't have to go out of your way, jump through a million hoops like it's a fucking equestrian dance. That's it. Just get it together, people.
Yeah. So is the anime industry going to die under the current
Never.
streaming worm? It won't, but it's definitely going
Never.
to suffer a lot of wounds along the way, and the casualties are unfortunately the consumers.
Anime will live forever.
But will it live forever on Netflix? Will it live forever on Amazon or Hulu or whatnot? Will it only be on Crunchyroll? Will we ever see a competitor that would be able to take on this insurmountable challenge that is Crunchyroll?
Welcome back to Good Anime Palette. This is the year 2044. I am still joined by my co-host, Will.
For
Will,
BP27 or
Will,
whatever it may be.
how do you feel about our new streaming platform, Crunchyflix? Isn't that like the best?
Hulu Plus.
We can stream it into our minds, Will. Do you remember the days when we have to watch it on a fucking monitor on a screen?
Dude, one day, you're going to be getting same-day delivery, same-day streaming on High Dive Prime. Brought to you by Jeff Bezos.
That's a low blow, bro. Low dive right there.
Fuck. Anyways, we've rambled enough. This is like a semi-rant, semi-analysis discussion, whatever it may be. But
Look,
yes,
Will,
it's not completely doom and gloom.
In lore stuff, we really should have a separate thing. But that is my skinny opinion on that.
So I guess we'll leave it at that then. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your week. And yeah, hopefully you're still able to access whatever anime you're watching on your streaming platform. Otherwise, just check into the Good Anime Pal podcast. We've got you covered.
We'll let you know.